Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Brighton Beach Memoirs. Today we're going to be doing assignment number 5. Now, up until this, you have heard me say every day, watch little kids. It's going to be something that's not necessarily good for them to hear. Today is the specific day that they have to be out of the way. So if you have any little brothers or sisters or any other younger kids in the area, either put earphones on so they can't hear or get them out of there, please, because this is not acceptable for them to hear today. Eugene and Stanley are going to have a little conversation right now that is beyond perverted. It's completely wrong, of course, because these are two knucklehead guys and they're going to be talking about what they think they know. And they're completely wrong, of course. So just be prepared. It is going to be a little strange for sure. And that's it. Now, remember what we're looking for, what we're dealing with in this play. Jack, right now, when we left off at the end of assignment number 4, he's about to take a walk with Nora and hear her problem, and he's going to offer her his advice. Should she do this Broadway show? Should she stay in school and not worry about it? We'll find out about that later. We know that the mother is still fighting, becoming a mother or doing what she needs to do. In fact, she just told her sister, I never have become a mother. I don't know what I'm doing. We have to remember that Stanley still has his problem at his job. It's actually gotten a little bit worse because now mom and dad want Stanley to ask for a raise, more money. And of course he can't do that because he needs to go and apologize and get his job back. Now, why is it such a big deal? Because remember, dad lost his second job, which is just so important. So let's find out. Let's do assignment number 5. Again, I'm going to mention, watch out, Eugene and Stanley. They are ridiculous, and just be prepared for this. Okay, good. Top of page 54. Let's go. Jack, sure, we'll take a look at the ocean. My father always used to say, throw your problems out to sea, and the answers will wash up back on shore. Nora, did they? Jack, not in Brighton Beach. Orange peels and watermelon pits washed up. That's why it's good to take someone who knows how to give advice. She gets up and they walk off toward the beach. So you got to love Jack. He gives advice. He doesn't give commands, right? And he gives thoughtful advice. So let's listen and see what happens. Okay. Stanley is lying on his bed, hands under his head, deep in thought. Eugene sits on his bed, banging a baseball into his glove. Now, remember, Stanley's got this huge problem and Eugene doesn't have a problem right now. So he's kind of enjoying the fact that Stanley is having this problem. Let's continue. Stanley, will you stop that? I'm trying to think. Eugene, I'm glad I don't have your problems. See, think about just that. I'm glad I don't have your problems. It's kind of a rude thing to say. He should have said, gee, I wish I could help or something like that. But at least he's honest. Stanley, how'd you like an official American League baseball in your mouth? Eugene, I've got to talk to you, Stanley. I mean a really serious, important talk. Stanley, everybody in this house has to have a talk with somebody. Take a number off the wall and wait your turn. Eugene, I had a dream last night. It was about this girl. I can't tell you her name, but she's gorgeous. All right, first of all, Eugene is a 13-year-old kid, right? What is he talking about? What type of dream did he have last night? Is it the dream that I'm thinking of? That's an important one, the beginning of puberty for a boy. We'll find out in a moment if that is correct or not. But also, who do you think he was dreaming about? I have a fear that it is his cousin Nora. We were really kissing hard and rubbing up against each other, and I felt this tremendous buildup coming like at the end of the 39 steps. And suddenly there was an explosion, like a dam broke and everything rushed out and flowed to sea. It was the greatest feeling I ever had in my life. And when I woke up, I was, Stanley, all wet. Eugene, surprised. Yeah, how'd you know? Stanley, unimpressed. It was a wet dream. You had a wet dream. I have them all the time. Eugene, you do? You mean there's nothing wrong with you if it happens? Stanley, you never had one before? Eugene, yeah, but I slept through it. Just so people understand what's going on here. The boys in the class probably know what a wet dream is because either they've had one or they've been told about them. But ladies, for you to understand, girls, the beginning of puberty or that for girls is when they first menstruate, right? It shows that their body is changing. They're able to have kids now. For the boy, it's a wet dream is their first foray into adulthood and the idea that you can also have kids. It's when sperm comes out of them while they're sleeping, and it shows that they too are now available to have children, that they have reached that level of their maturity. Now, no, clearly not. We're hearing Eugene and Stanley talk about it now. It just means their body is maturing, right? So that's what we're talking about right now. It's completely normal for boys to go through. And if a boy, by the way, wasn't told about it, that might freak them out a little bit, like poor Eugene here. He didn't understand what happened to him. So luckily he has a brother that he can speak with about it. It's good that Stanley is there to tell him about this, the factual stuff, but just wait and see the unfactual stuff that they're about to talk about. OMG, I'm saying it right now. But let's continue. You do? You mean there's nothing wrong with you if it happens? Stanley, you never had one before? Eugene, yeah, but I slept through it. Eugene, didn't you ever try to do it by yourself? What do you mean? Stanley, didn't you ever diddle with yourself? Eugene, no, never. Stanley, baloney. I've heard you. You diddle 3-4 times a week. Eugene, you're crazy. What do you mean diddle? Stanley, whack off. Eugene, will you be quiet? Lori might hear you. Stanley, there's nothing wrong with it. Everybody does it, especially at our age. It's natural. Eugene, what do you mean everybody? You know guys who do it? Stanley, every guy I know does it, except ask Haskell Fleischman, the fat kid. He does it to the other guys. Eugene, I can't believe I'm having this conversation. Stanley, you can't grow up without doing it. Your voice won't change. Eugene, where did you get this stuff from? Is it in a medical book or something? Stanley, it's puberty. Eugene, it's what? Stanley, puberty. You never heard that word before? You don't read books? Eugene, yeah, The Citadel by A.J. Cronin. He never mentioned puberty. Stanley, even Pop did it. Eugene, Pop? Our Pop? You know what, Stanley? I think you're full of S. Stanley sits up. Hey, don't use, no, he used the real word, sugar, honey, iced tea. I'm not going to use it for obvious reasons. Just understand that Eugene just said that to him. You're full of S. He said the full word. Stanley sits up. Hey, don't you use that language. Who do you think you are? You're just a kid. Never let me hear you say that word again. Eugene, I don't get you. You mean it's okay for you to say puberty, but I can't say S? Sugar, honey, iced tea? Stanley, puberty is a scientific word. Sugar, honey, iced tea is for those guys who hang around the beach. Eugene, what do you expect me to say when you tell me that Pop whacks off? Stanley, I don't mean he still does it because he's married now. But when he was a kid, 14 or 15, the whole world whacks off. Eugene, President Roosevelt too? Rich kids are the worst. They whack off from morning till night. In college, they sit around in their dorms drinking beer and whacking off. Eugene, Stanley, this is the most important information you ever taught me. What about girls? Stanley, 5 times as much as boys. Eugene, 5 times as much? Is that an actual figure? Where do you know all this from? Stanley, you pick it up, you learn it. It's handed down from generation to generation. That's how our culture spreads. Eugene, 5 times as much as boys? Some of them don't even say hello to you and they're home all night whacking off? Stanley, they're human just like we are. They have the same needs and desires. Then why is it so hard to touch their boobs? Stanley, if you were a girl, would you like some guy jumping at you and grabbing your boobs? Eugene, if I had boobs, I would love to touch them, wouldn't you? Stanley, I've got my own problems to think about. Eugene, how do girls do it? Stanley, I can't explain. Eugene, please, Stanley, I'll be your slave for a month. Tell me how they do it. Eugene, I need a pencil and paper. I'll do it later. Eugene quickly hands him his notebook and a pencil. Do you want crayons? Maybe you should do it in color. Stanley, hey, Eugene, I have a major problem in my life. I haven't got time to draw girls masturbating for you. Eugene, I'll bet Nora doesn't do it. Stanley, boy, could I win money from you. You think she's in the bathroom 7 times a day just taking showers? Eugene, she does it in the bathroom? Stanley, I knew 2 girls who used to do it in English class. I saw a girl do it during a final exam, and she got a 98 on her paper. Is she the one you were thinking about last night? Eugene, no, it was somebody else, one of the beach girls. Stanley, it was Nora. I see what's going on. I knew why you dropped your dinner last night. I'm sorry, I knew why you dropped your dinner 12 times at dinner tonight. Eugene, she drives me crazy. I think I'm in love with her. Yeah? Well, forget it. She's your cousin. Eugene, what's wrong with being in love with your cousin? Stanley, because it's against the laws of nature. If she was your stepsister, it would be dirty, but it would be okay. But you can't love your own cousin. Let me give you a piece of advice. When you're going through puberty, don't start with anyone in your own house. Eugene, who made up those rules? Franklin Roosevelt married his cousin. Stanley, maybe she was his 2nd or 3rd cousin, but you can't marry your 1st cousin. You get babies with 9 heads. I wish Pop would get back. I gotta talk to him tonight. Eugene, I still would love to see her naked, just once. There's nothing wrong with that, is there? Actually, is there anything wrong with seeing his cousin naked? The answer is yes, absolutely. And Stanley gives him the absolute wrong answer. He says, no, I do it all the time. Eugene, you've seen Nora naked? Stanley, lots of times. I fixed the lock on the bathroom door, then opened it pretending I didn't know anyone was in there. Eugene, I can't believe it. What a pig. What did she look like? Stanley, All I can tell you is I was pretty miserable. She was my first cousin. He lies back on his bed. Eugene turns and looks at the audience. Eugene, that was the night I discovered lust and guilt were very closely related. Well, of course, you're going to feel guilty about lusting after your own cousin. You should feel guilty about that. It's wrong. To Stanley, I have to wash up. Stanley, teasingly, have a good time. Eugene, I don't do that. Blanche and Kate have come out of the kitchen. They each have a cup of tea. They sit at the dining table. Kate, I'm sorry, I forgot it was this Tuesday. I'll change my doctor appointment. Blanche, you don't have to change anything. The girls will be with me. Kate, have I ever missed a year going to the grave? Dave was my favorite in the whole family. You know that. Blanche, you realize it'll be 6 years? Sometimes I forget his birthday, but the day he died, I never forget. I mean, think about this. It's been 6 years since her husband died, and she still hasn't gotten over it. Now, do you ever get over somebody like that dying? Your spouse? Probably not. But do you move on with your life? And the answer is yes, you should. I mean, she still sleeps with his picture every night and talks to him and whatnot. I mean, is that okay? Yes, but there's a problem. Her daughters see her doing this. So her daughters are seeing their mom not moving forward in her life. She's stuck. She's staying where she. If you were the father, and he's dead now, but do you think he would have wanted her to spend the rest of her life suffering over him? I'll tell you right now, if I die today, I don't want my wife mourning over me for the rest of her life. I mean, a little while, 6 months, a year, maybe, but after that, go have a life, fall in love again, maybe get another husband, live. You are alive to live, not to mourn forever. That's just my opinion, of course. You guys can have your own opinions. But Blanche, 6 years and she's still not gotten past it. It's not healthy for her. And it's certainly not healthy for her daughters. Kate, there wasn't another like him. Blanche, Lori asks me questions about him all the time. Was he funny? What was the funniest thing he ever said? She asked me. I couldn't remember. Isn't that awful, Kate? Kate, sometimes you talk like your life is over. You're still a young woman. You're still beautiful if you'd ever stop squinting so much. I went with him for 2 years before we were married. What was I waiting for? That's 2 married years I didn't have with him. Kate, listen. Jack's company is having their annual fair in New York next Wednesday at the Commodore Hotel. You should see how some of those women get dressed up. Jack wants you to come with us. He told me to ask you. Me? Who do I know in Jack's company? Kate, you'll be with us. You'll meet people. Max Green will be at our table. He's the one whose wife died last year from, she whispers, tuberculosis. He's their #1 salesman. He lives in a hotel on the Grand Concourse. He's a riot. You'll like him. Maybe you'll dance with him. What else are you going to do here every night? Blanche, I don't have a dress to wear for a thing like that. Kate, you'll make something. Jack will get you some material. He knows everybody in the garment district. Blanche, thank you, Kate. I appreciate it. I can't go, though. Maybe next year. Kate, next year you won't have any eyes altogether. What are you afraid of, Blanche? Dave is dead. You're not. If God wanted the both of you, you'd be laying in the grave next to him. Now, she was blunt with why she just said that, but she's so right. Now, is Kate wrong about other things in this book? OMG, especially about how she treats other people. Remember the Murphys across the street and other people? But for this, she's right. Blanche needs to move on. Blanche, I've made plans for next Wednesday night. Kate, more important than this, they have this affair once a year. Blanche, I'm having dinner with someone. You're having dinner with a man? That's wonderful. Why didn't you tell me? Well, there's a good reason why she didn't tell her. Listen why. Blanche, with Mr. Murphy. This stops Kate right in her tracks. Now, so Kate is saying you need to go date somebody. You need to be happy. And she says, I am. I'm dating somebody. I'm excited. I've got a date. And she gets excited, of course. But it's not a Jewish man. Remember, Kate is a racist. And if you are not the same either race or religion as her, because Judaism isn't really a race, it's a religion, but she believes that you have to be like her and like her family in order to even talk to. Not acceptable. And by the way, that's why Blanche didn't tell her, because Blanche knows she was going to have a hard time with it. Unacceptably so, of course. Blanche, with Mr. Murphy. This stops Kate right in her tracks. Kate, who's Mr. Murphy? Oh my God, I don't understand you. You're going to dinner with that man? Do you know where he'll take you? To a saloon, to a bar and grill. That's where he'll take you. Blanche, we're going to Chardolf's, the Hungarian restaurant. You never even met the man. Why do you dislike him so much? I don't have to meet that kind. I just have to smell his breath when he opens the window. What do you think a man like that is looking for? I grew up with that kind on Avenue A. How many times have Stanley and Jean come home from school, black and blue from the beatings they took from those Irish hooligans? What have you got to talk to with a man like that? Is that why you don't like him? Because he's Irish? When have the Jews and the Irish ever fought a war? You know who George Bernard Shaw is? I don't care who he is. Blanche, one of the greatest Irish writers in the world. What would you say if he took me to Chardoff's next Wednesday? Kate, is Mr. Murphy a writer? Tell him to bring me some of his books. I'll be glad to read them. Blanche, Kate, when are you going to give up being an older sister? Kate, I've heard stories about him with women. They like their women, you know. That's another stereotype of Irish men, is that they like to cheat on their wives and they like to date multiple women, maybe because they're drunk all the time, is the other stereotype, which is just ridiculous. And by the way, is there anything wrong with a man liking women? She just told her sister she needs to date a man. Clearly, she would have to date a man that likes women to do that. No, it has nothing to do with that. It's because he's Irish. Let's continue. Well, if that's what you want, it's your business. Eugene, to the audience. I decided to go downstairs and quiet my passion with oatmeal cookies. Blanche, we took a walk along the beach last Thursday. He hardly said a word. He's very shy, very quiet. He told me where his parents came from in Ireland. Their life wasn't any easier than Mama and Papa's in Russia. Kate, nobody had it like they had it in Russia. So there it is again with Kate. According to Kate, nobody else suffers in the world but her and her family. She's unable to empathize with other people, to put herself in the shoes of other people, to put herself in the shoes of another mother out there. She just won't do it. Why? I don't know. Something happened to her. I believe it was her parents that put this into her. But then again, she's trying to do it to her kids, and her kids don't do it. So what's wrong with Kate that she's like that? Blanche. He holds down a decent job at his printer's office, and he didn't smell of liquor, and he behaved like a perfect gentleman. Eugene comes down the stairs. He had been listening. Kate, without turning, no cookies for you. None until you eat that liver. Eugene, you're still saving it? You mean it's going to be in the icebox until I grow up? Kate, no cookies. You hear me? Eugene, I just want a glass of water. Which, by the way, is a lie. He did come down for cookies. Kate, you have water in your bathroom. Eugene, there's toothpaste in the glass. It makes me nauseous. He goes into the kitchen. Kate, to Blanche, listen, there's no point discussing this. I'm going to bed. Do what you want. Blanche, Kate, I don't want to do anything that's going to make you unhappy. Or Jack, I owe you too much. I owe too much to you. I can't live off you the rest of my life. Every decent job I've tried to get, they turn me down because of my eyes. The thought of marrying Frank Murphy hasn't even occurred to me. Maybe not even to him. But I don't think one dinner at Chardoff's is the end of the world. Kate, I just don't want to see you get hurt. I never mean you harm. I can take anything except when someone in the family is mad at me. Blanche embraces her. I could never be mad at you, Kate. That I promised to my dying day. Now, that's a stupid promise. Do we get mad at people in our family, our brothers and sisters? Of course we do. Especially when you live with them, you're going to get mad. So for her to say, I promise I'll never get mad at you, that's just a crazy promise. And Kate says the same thing. And by the way, that's foreshadowing. Just wait. They're going to be fighting within a few pages. Just you wait and see. Because that's how life is, right? Not fighting with somebody you live with, please. Kate, go on. Have dinner with Frank Murphy. If Papa ever heard me say those words, he'd get up from the cemetery and stand in front of our house with a big stick. It came from her father as well. Blanche kisses her again. Blanche, I told him to pick me up here. Is that all right? Here? In my house? Blanche, for 2 minutes, I wanted you to meet him. At least see what he's like. Tell his mother to wash her windows. Maybe I'd know what he's like. We see Nora hurriedly cross the front yard and open the front door. She looks upset. Nora walks over to her mother, determined. Nora, can I see Mr. Beckman tomorrow? Yes or no? Jack crosses the front yard. Blanche, did you talk to Uncle Jack? I talked to Uncle Jack. I want an answer from you, Mother. Yes or no? Jack enters the house. Blanche, what did he say? It doesn't matter what he said. It's your decision or mine. Who's going to make it, Mother? Jack, I said if I were her father, I'd tell her to finish high school. If she's got talent, there'll be plenty of other shows. I never got past the 8th grade, and that's why I spent half my life on the subway and the other half trying to make a few extra dollars to keep this family from being out on the street. Nora to Blanche, I don't want this just for myself, Mama, but for you and for Lori. In a few years, we could have a house of our own instead of all being cooped up here like animals. We could pay Uncle Jack for what he's given us all these years. I'm asking for a way out, Mama. Don't shut me in. Don't shut me in for the rest of my life. They all turn and look at Blanche. Blanche, you promised you'd do what Uncle Jack said. Nora, he doesn't make decisions. He offers advice. I want a decision, Mama, from you, please. Blanche, you finish high school. You tell Mr. Beckman you're too young. You tell him your mother said no. That's my decision. Okay, now, first of all, is that the right decision? In my opinion, absolutely. So let's see how she reacts. Now, Nora said, I want the decision, and then we'll go from there. She now just told her no. Is Nora going to accept that decision? Now, remember last time she stormed out, closed the door, and ran out crying, showing she was very childish? How is she going to handle it now? I mean, do you think she's grown up a lot in the last 2 days? The answer is probably not. Listen, Nora looks at her frustrated. I see. To Jack. Thank you very much, Uncle Jack, for your advice. To Blanche. I'll let you know in the morning what my decision is. She rushes upstairs to her room. Blanche starts to go after her. So she stormed out again. She says, I'm going to make my own decision. By the way, you just told your mom, whatever you say, we'll do. Your mom said no, and now you say, I'm going to make my own decision. So truly, you only wanted to hear yes from your mom. Let's continue. Let's see what happens. She rushes up to her room. Blanche starts to go after her. Let her go, Blanche. Let her sleep on it. You'll only make it worse. Blanche, it seems no matter what I do, I only make it worse. She turns, starts up the stairs. Nora has slammed the door of her room. Yeah, there you go. That's childish to slam the door of your room because you didn't get what you wanted. Stanley hears it and opens his door and starts down. Jack to Kate. What could I tell her? What could I say? Kate shrugs. You inherit a family, you inherit their problems. Eugene comes out of the kitchen. Well, good night. Put the cookie on the table. What cookie? The oatmeal cookie in your pocket. Put it on the table. Eugene, you can smell an oatmeal cookie from 10 feet away? I heard the jar moving in the kitchen. Suddenly everybody's doing what they want in this house. Your father's upset. Aunt Blanche is upset. Put the cookie on that table. Now, is she really mad at Eugene? No. See, she's mad at all the problems that they're having. And what do you do when you're mad, ladies and gentlemen? Who do you take it out on? Your family members, the people there because they don't leave you, right? Because you can get away with it. It's awful, but it's true. Hopefully this stops, though. Eugene puts the cookie on the table and starts up the stairs to his room. He passes Stanley. Stanley to Eugene. I heard a lot of yelling. What happened? I don't know, but it's my fault. He goes on up and into the bathroom. Nora is on her bed crying. Lori sits on her bed and watches her. Lori, what are you going to do? Nora shakes her head, indicating she doesn't know. Do you want me to speak to Mom? I can tell her I was getting flutters in my heart again. Nora turns angrily. Don't you ever say that. Don't you pretend to be sick to get favors from anyone. Finally, someone told that to Lori. Lori, I'm not pretending. They're just not big flutters. Stanley has been sitting at the top of the stairs trying to work up courage to talk to his father. Jack, oh, that's right. He's still got to tell him about losing the money. Jack is sitting in the living room disconsolate. I'm not losing the money. I'm sorry, about losing his job. Jack is sitting in the living room disconsolate. Kate is puffing up pillows. Jack, stop puffing up. The house could be burning down, and you'd run back in to puff up the pillows. Kate, let's go to bed. You're tired. Jack, when does it get easier, Kate? When does our life get easier? Kate, at night, when you get 7 good hours of sleep. That's the easiest it ever gets. Nora has put on her robe, left her room, and opens the bathroom door. We hear a scream from Eugene. All right, this is very funny. Eugene is in the door. Remember, he said he had to go to the bathroom, so he's in the bathroom right now. And Nora just opened it up and saw him on the toilet. Now, why is that funny? I mean, it's kind of awful, right, to be seen if you're taking a poop or something like that, and somebody comes and sees you. Much worse, the girl you have a crush on. That makes it even 10 times worse. Of course, you should. I'm just talking about Eugene here. But why did it happen? Because remember, the boys, well, not the boys, Stanley fixed the door so that he could go in and see Nora after her shower. Well, that has caused Eugene to get caught. So it's come back to get him. Watch. Close the door. Nora, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know anyone was in there. She rushes out back to her room. Stanley moves into the living room. Stanley, Dad, do you think I could talk to you now? It'll just take 5 minutes. Kate, he's tired, Stanley. He's practically asleep. Stanley, 2 minutes. I'll tell it as fast as I can. Go on, Kate. Go to bed. The boy wants to tell me something. Kate, turn out the lights when you're through. She kisses Jack's head. Don't worry about things. We've always made them work out. She leaves the room just as Eugene darts out of the bathroom, rushes into his own room and slams the door. She saw me on the crapper. Nora saw me on the crapper. He falls on his bed. I might as well be dead. So he actually was. He was taking a poop and Nora came in and saw him there. Now is it the end of the world? Of course not. But again, he's a 13-year-old boy who's lusting after his cousin. Oh, it's just awful, but let's continue. Eugene, I'm sorry. I might as well be dead. Stanley, I have a problem, Pop. Jack, if you didn't have a problem, you wouldn't live in this house. Stanley, you know what? Actually, let's see. I can read these next line. It must have been tough being a father. Everybody comes to you with their problems. You have to have all the answers. I don't know if I could handle it. All right. Jack says, stop trying to win me over. Just tell me the problem. Stanley got fired today. Jack, what? And that's where we will end. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have just finished assignment number 5. Make sure you have all your answers, your questions correctly answered, and have a lovely day. Thank you.